I am just so excited for this year in music and in pop culture. There are so many great things happening, so let's talk about it. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. My name is Ali, and today we are discussing everything that Taylor Swift will be doing in 2025, potentially. If you are new around here, I previously made predictions videos for things like the Eras Tour, the Tortured Poets Department, even the re-recording journey. It's just something I enjoy doing, almost like a bingo card to look back on and see how well did I do. I think for my videos where I was predicting the re-recordings era, I was way off because I kind of thought Taylor would just want to get them done, get them out there. I've never been happier to be wrong about something. I truly love and appreciate how Taylor is letting every era and every album kind of shine again, not only for people like myself who love these albums, and, you know, got to experience them the first time around, and it's so nostalgic and nice to almost relive that. And I'm almost more excited for newer fans that weren't there the first time around and now get to like live through this album and experience it. So the fact that we are getting 2 more this year, in my mind anyway, is a fantastic thing. Obviously you must be wondering, well, what are your credentials? Why do you think you even have a right to make these predictions? I would be thinking the exact same. Firstly, I have been a Swiftie since Taylor's first album, so I've kind of just been around enough of her career to somewhat understand her patterns and decision making. Does that mean she couldn't surprise me? Absolutely not, but I'm making educated guesses here. Secondly, and arguably more importantly, I co-ran a very successful Pretty Little Liars theory blog, so if anyone was doubting me before, they're not now. I really just want to start off this year of Taylor by saying this, and that is that Taylor gave us the equivalent of 2 brand new albums last year in 2024, less than a year ago. The Tortured Poets Department and the extended anthology, 31 tracks, literally double the length of 2 standard albums. If Taylor chose to do nothing at all in 2025, to just have feet on bed, sit on her boyfriend's couch and watch Grey's Anatomy, I genuinely would be thrilled for her to have some downtime. Now, do I think that's likely, knowing Taylor Swift? No, but she has been doing so much the past few years. Homegirl deserves a break, whether she takes it or not, that's to be seen. Now, also in this video today, we happen to now be in my favorite season of the year, which is award season. So I figured I would make my Grammys predictions here as well. Very keen to hear yours in the comments if you are feeling brave enough to share. 3 quick admin things. Firstly, devastatingly, the eyeshadow that I've been wearing for the past like 5 years on YouTube that you guys comment about all the time has finally gone to the Sephora store in the sky. Just wanted to give everyone a warning of that because it is by far the thing I get the most comments about. So yeah, I just wanted to make sure you guys heard that from me. Secondly, this video and the 2 previous uploads have had 3 different microphones. So each video has had a different microphone. I've been toying with different things. I'm trying to improve and upgrade my sound quality for you guys, but I can't tell at all which one is better. So if you could please let me know which microphone looks and sounds the best from this video, the one before it, and the one before that, that would be so helpful because obviously it's you guys that are listening to me here. I would just love to know which you prefer. Finally, and most excitingly, obviously this year it is presumably a year of re-recordings. So if you would like to see deep dives from me on Reputation and Taylor Swift, Taylor's version, make sure you are subscribed down below and have hit the bell so that YouTube can tell you when I post. 2023 was just such a fun year for those re-recordings, and I'm very excited to do that all over again. Well, all of that being said, let's get into it. So my first prediction for 2025 is that we will be seeing either a documentary or a docu-series. I'm sure this will come as no surprise to any of you. We have witnessed and observed Taylor being filmed a lot over the past couple of years, especially at the Eras Tour, but also in and out of the studio, things like that. So I'm gonna throw down a guess for an Eras Tour behind the scenes documentary. I feel like this is maybe 3 or 13% less likely ever since we got the Eras Tour book, just because it's like, oh, okay, that's kind of filled that slot a little bit, but at the same time, that was more of like a photo book rather than a behind the scenes. We weren't really hearing like how they picked songs for the set list, what rehearsal was like, how did everything work with the guy in the Roomba under the stage? Was it difficult for dancers to find their marks when the stage is a projection and you can't have marks written on it? There are just so many questions that I would love answered and questions I haven't even thought of. I think all of us would love to see this, so I can't see why they wouldn't make that. So that is my first guess. My second prediction, and this could actually come next year, but that is a re-recording documentary or preferably docu-series. I would love to see one one episode or chapter per album being re-recorded and just chronicling the journey of Taylor revisiting, re-recording her old work for ownership of the masters. We talked all about this in my Taylor Swift 101 video, explaining like why she's doing it, what it means, etc. But this is just such an interesting journey for an artist to be on, and I think a docu-series would be a great way to show fans, but also the general public and also up-and-coming artists, what that has been like, what that has entailed. From a more personal level, I would be interested to see what that has been like for Taylor, like emotionally, specifically, how that has impacted her to revisit these periods in her life and like having to sing again the words that she wrote when she was 15 or 21, things like that, because I think it is undeniable that the revisiting of these eras has inspired new songs. Look at re-recording Red and then the manuscript. Look at re-recording Speak Now and then Would've, Could've, Should've. Reputation, Thank You Amy. I think there is something to be said for what this journey could have reawoken in her. I don't know what the right word is, but I think if it were me taking this walk down memory lane, I would definitely be inspired to create new art about it. And also, I don't know, maybe there's some things she was dreading having to re-record or some she was really excited for. These are all questions that I would love to be answered on the hopefully upcoming re-recordings documentary. Okay, now the next thing I have to say could be controversial, I'm not too sure, but I will go on record as saying this. I am not a debutation truther. If you don't know, debutation is the theory that Taylor will release, rep, and debut at the same time, simultaneously. Personally, I would put money on that not happening, and I'll explain why. I'm obviously happy to be proven wrong. I wouldn't be upset if she did this, but it just doesn't make sense to me. In my mind, this would be releasing two competing pieces of art, therefore resulting in one of them not going to #1. I know there's this big argument, people think that debut won't go #1 regardless, but I think why not give it its best shot? I don't think Taylor's the kind of person to make a decision like that based in fear that it won't go #1, to then have it purposefully live in Reputation's shadow so as to not be embarrassed about it not going #1. I don't know, I just don't see that happening. First of all, I think it will go #1, even if solely because of me. I personally will buy and stream that enough to make it go #1, but I also have faith in the world, and we'll get to my predictions for that in a minute because I have some reasoning as to why I think it'll do better than you might expect. But yeah, to pair it with Reputation, Taylor's version, would give debut even less of a chance at succeeding, right? And I just think for someone like Taylor who loves to beat herself and smash records and like actually succeed, side note, I actually think every artist loves to do this. Taylor's just the only one that is actually doing it really well, and secondly, will admit to wanting to do that. Yeah, I just think it would make no sense. I mean, also even thematically, there is maybe not two more polar opposite albums than these two right here. Like imagine how would that even look? I asked on Twitter why people that believed this did believe that. I was kind of like trying to get into their mindset and understand where that theory came from. And from what I could see, the main reasoning, or the one that made sense to me, was at the Grammys when Taylor did this. But in my brain, that was immediately understood on April 19th when the Tortured Poets department was a double drop. That is what this was referring to in my mind. Another prediction before I get into my Taylor's version thoughts, I would love to see Taylor return to casual social media use. It was such a fun time when she kind of just posted on social media like a normal person, but sadly the general public and fans have sort of ruined the fun of that for her. Like I know anyone that's had like even a reel or a TikTok or whatever go viral, as soon as that is out in the world, you cannot control what people say about it or say directly to you on that post. So I really understand people that turn their comments off or don't post at all. Social media can be just so incredibly toxic, so I get that. And I think because Taylor is the most famous person in the world, I would say, it's very enjoyable for a lot of people to like twist her words or see a photo and make it something that it's not. So I really don't blame her for not being active on there in that kind of way, except for work, which she has to do, but I would love to see it. One of the closest things we got to this in recent times was the Fortnite YouTube short, which obviously again was for work because it was like a brand deal with YouTube, but it was just really nice to see a little glimpse into someone's kind of day-to-day life again, rather than just when it's for work. So that was cute. I would love to see it again, even if it is a brand deal with YouTube. Sign me up. Okay, let's get into our Taylor's version predictions. So I guess I should start off by saying the order, but I kind of gave you a bit of a clue up here. I think the order will be Reputation and then Taylor Swift. I do think we are getting both of those this year. I've kind of been adamant for a while that it's been the pattern of every other year with the newer albums in between, and I think that will continue this this year. Again, I think I've been saying for like a year or so now that we will not get it before the Grammys. I don't even think it will be announced before the Grammys. To me, in my mind, again, it just doesn't make sense to take any attention away from the Tortured Poets department whilst we are still very much in that era. My alert has not been up for Reputation at all for a very long time and will not be up really until after the Grammys. Do I think she would announce anything at the Grammys this year? I actually don't, just because she did it last year, and Taylor has often said, you know, she doesn't like to do the same thing twice. So I will be very excitedly watching the Grammys this year, obviously, but not for that. So that being said, I think my prediction is an announcement in February with release in April. End of March, early April. As much as I would love to see Reputation overshadow the new president of the United States inauguration in January, it's pre-Grammys, so it just doesn't make sense to me. Sadly, I don't think it'll happen. Now, I don't think Taylor will completely wipe her social media like she did last time. I just think there are too many positive memories. Like, she is in a very happy stage of her life, having just completed the world's biggest tour of all time. And those memories that live on her page, I think would be very sad to be deleted. Whereas back in 2017, 2016, the internet was not being very nice to her. So I could completely understand the removal of social media. This time, I don't think that's necessary. I think a nice alternative to that would just be blacking out her profile picture, especially before the album cover is revealed. That would be like a sign, you know? That would be our crop circles to know that something is coming. Here is one where I have a bit of a question for you guys. Do you think the album cover will say Reputation on it? I'm gonna go with no, only because with the recent re-recordings, all of them except 1989 have not had anything written on it. So I'm inclined to think she will follow that pattern for these last two as well. Okay, in terms of the vault, I think this will be a similar album to Red, Taylor's version. So I think we're going to see 5 or 6 new vault tracks. And then in addition to that, things that will be called vault tracks, but are songs that we already know. So in Red's case, we had Better Man, Babe, Ronan, things like that. In Reputation's case, I think we will see This Is What You Came For and I Don't Want to Live Forever, which is such an exciting prospect to imagine hearing those produced slightly differently with today's voice. I would be very excited for that. I don't think she necessarily would or will do this, but I was listening to it the other day and I actually think the unreleased song Need could fit quite well on the Reputation vault. It has that sound maybe similar to like Dress. As we discussed in episode 2 of Taylor Swift 101, the Reputation album is largely, for maybe not a majority, but at least half of the album, about love and even about sex and longing and things like that. And I think Need really fits that vibe. I think the production could fit onto Reputation very seamlessly. And if I had to pick an artist to feature on that with Taylor, this might sound weird, but I think Sabrina Carpenter could do it. I know a lot of people said their voices didn't blend that well together when she came out on the Eras tour and sang, you know, Espresso and Is It Over Now, but I could actually see them kind of doing a verse each kind of thing. Anyway, this is not a prediction. This is just kind of a daydream from my brain. And I mean, if we're talking about, well, it doesn't fit the era, I think we can all agree that that doesn't necessarily matter to Taylor. We have seen her very easily relocate if this was a movie from Speak Now to Fearless. So era accuracy is not my main priority here. Once again, one of my all-time favorite unreleased songs is Drama Queen. That is from the Fearless Speak Now era. If she wants to put that on debut, no arguments here. I have been wondering if there will be some sort of item or valuable or piece of merchandise that will represent this era. So in the same way that the cardigan represented folklore, we obviously now have many of them, but that was initially from this era. Red had like the red scarf and the ring. I would love to see something for both Reputation era and also debut. Unfortunately, I am more of a gold girly, and in my mind, the jewelry and like color associated with Rep is more silver. So hopefully if Taylor does decide to do this, she thinks of us, you know, warmer toned people as well. I also predict that Taylor will essentially not do any traditional promo for this album. We're not going to see a Zane Lowe interview. She's not going to be going on The Tonight Show. She will not be doing those traditional appearances like she did for, say, Red Taylor's version or Midnight's. She may even go as far to reuse the phrase, "There will be no explanation, there will just be Reputation." Taylor knows she ate that when she came up with that phrase, so I think the way that it just immediately gets her out of doing any explaining at all of the album, it's kind of nice. Obviously that makes my job harder because I have less clips to pull from when I'm trying to make informative educational material for you guys. So I'm just gonna have to rely on what's up here. It's also ironic to me to think about how this album has aged in regards to the public drama between Taylor and Kanye, because I mean, since then, the full original phone call, unedited, leaked, proving that Taylor never lied and had never approved the word bitch on the album. And Kanye has only been proven to be more of, I don't even know what the right word is to say, like asshole. But obviously all of that is a story for another video, so I'll get on with it. Okay, as for features on the Reputation vault, this is the hardest of all of the albums for me to guess, purely because it's the era and the vault that we know the least about. Like when I was making predictions for Speak Now and I said Hayley Williams or Paramore and Fall Out Boy, that to me was like a no-brainer because I'm like, they were big inspirations for Taylor at the time. I remember her being friends with Hayley. As for Rep, it is so shrouded in mystery that pretty much everything will be a surprise, which makes it very exciting, especially compared to its counterpart Debut, where I'm like, does Taylor even have songs that I haven't heard from this time? Anyway, we'll get there. But if I'm having to make guesses for features on the Rep vault, firstly, let me say, I would not be surprised if the vault did not contain any features. I mean, it's not impossible. The 5 new songs on 1989 Taylor's version, that vault did not contain a feature. So if there were any album where she was going to keep it to herself, Rep could be just that. But if I'm having to name names, I think my instinct is to go like look at the Reputation tour guests. Obviously she had Camila Cabello and Charlie XCX supporting her on that tour. Personally, I don't think either of them at all are gonna be featured on here. I would be more inclined to think about people that were like surprise guests during that time. So Troye Sivan or Hayley Kiyoko, I really don't know. If we're thinking like more modern current people, again, I don't know, Sabrina. People are theorizing Selena. I just don't really see that happening either, but would be fun if they did. Tell you who could be good? Miley Cyrus. I know they obviously sang 15 together back at the Grammys a million years ago, and back then I don't think their voices meshed as well. But today, if we had Think About Plastic Hearts Miley, that rock sound, hearing her on a vault for Reputation, that'd be cool. Again, I don't think that'll happen, but if Taylor's watching and needs an idea, that'd be fun. Let me know what and who you guys think might be lying within the Reputation vault. If I'm having to make a prediction, I'm leaning towards no features, or if they are a feature, it's more likely to be like a rapper of some sort. We'll see. Okay, and now we are up to Debut, or self-titled Taylor's version. Like I have said in many a video before, this is the era that Taylor has the strongest catalog to pull from. She has 100, if not hundreds of songs to pull from, you know, to look through her diaries and her demos and pick from for this era. Maybe we'll see more vault tracks than usual here. I just think there are so many great songs from that era that could easily make it onto the vault and like be such a high standard that they deserve to be on the album. If you haven't seen it, I do have a full video breaking down like the unreleased songs from this era. I go through her early unreleased catalog, and I also share like my top 10 that I would love to see on Debut Taylor's version, so I will link that down below. But in terms of release for this album, my vote is Summertime. As much as I think it would be quite poetic and fun for Taylor to announce or release it on her birthday in December, a country album just doesn't scream winter to me. And again, I could be wrong. What do I know? I'm a crazy Australian down in the Southern Hemisphere, but to me, a country album would just be perfect. When it's warm outside, people are on the lake or doing whatever Americans do. I just think we've seen such great country albums in recent years, and to me, they are best appreciated when you can be outside. So if I'm following my Rep prediction, where I said release in April, I will say either June, July, August. June might be too close, so July or August or September for Debut. As for our features, here is where I think Taylor can really drum up some extra support and excitement around an album that, for everything I'm hearing, you guys think will not do very well. If the idea is that it's such an old album, or I don't know, people don't think the songs are as good, to me, this is such an incredible album, especially in terms of songwriting, and to hear her new, updated, stronger vocals over that. Anyway, you guys don't need to hear me rant on again about how excited I am for this album, but my first prediction is that this album will be even more enjoyed than everyone is predicting and expecting, including Swifties. Everyone is ranking this album last trust on their list. They are saying that it's gonna flop, and I think no. No, it will not. I will not let it. I will do my best not only to enjoy it myself, but to help educate and excite other people so that when this album comes out, you can enjoy it for how fantastic it is. But in my opinion, one of the things that Taylor can do and likely has done or will do to drum up more excitement around this album is the features. I think this is the perfect place to have some collaborators from the country genre. So at the top of my list, we have Shania Twain. Taylor has often mentioned her as one of her, inspirations, especially in the early country days.
I started loving country music when I heard Shania Twain, and she really made me fall in love with that kind of music.
Mama said that it was okay. Mama said that it was quite alright.
Alongside the Chicks and Faith Hill. The Chicks, I think because we already had a feature with them on Lover, it's not as likely we'd see them again. Faith Hill is definitely possible. Leanne Rimes, the same, but I just think Shania, being so iconic, is more likely here.
Taylor Swift is getting the Artist of the Decade award. Why do you think she's so deserving of that?
She's one of the hardest workers in the industry. She's a brilliant lady. I think she's changing the world culturally with music in a very positive way.
She's doing the same in her own right for other young artists coming up behind her, because she is a very brave artist and a very, very hard-working one. She's a fabulous example for anybody coming up behind her. I can't wait to see what Taylor's doing, and I'd love to write with her. She's a very prolific writer, very, very good songwriter.
Even people that don't know country music at all know Shania Twain or have heard the name Shania Twain. So I think to have her on a vault would be a great way to get everyday people to stop and check this album out. Then next on my list, we have Tim McGraw.
You think Tim McGraw, I hope you think of me.
I have a friend that thinks it will be Tim McGraw featuring Tim McGraw. As fun as that would be, I think that will be just Taylor, and I think we will see Tim on a different vault. Just what a nice way to pay homage to the song that kickstarted her career, was and will always be attached to him. So to have Tim come and join Taylor in this revisiting of that iconic time period would be so full circle. In that same vein, his wife Faith Hill would also be an iconic feature. Again, I just don't know if she's as recognizable outside of the country world to other fans compared to Shania. Finally, if I am dreaming really big, which this is my video, it's my channel, why the hell not, I'm gonna say that we could have a feature from Miss Dolly Parton. Can you just imagine?
Here you come again.
You have a special love for Taylor Swift.
Of course,
Right.
I love her.
I think she's the first artist to have all 10 spots
I
on the
saw
Billboard
that
Hot
on the
100.
news, and I think that is sensational. And congratulations to her, Taylor.
Right?
Yeah, I think she's spectacular. Great writer, and I love how she presents herself. She's always been such a pro. I really, really admire and respect her. I have since she started. I don't care what other people say about my songs, but with Taylor, she's a great writer, with or without anybody. She's magnificent, and I think she's done great, and that's one of the things I admire about her. She's always had good taste in how she's presented herself and with her songs, and she's very creative and very, very, very smart.
People were freaking out recently because one of them followed the other online and took that as a confirmation or a hint that they might have collaborated. Personally, I don't see it that way. I mean, I think that the re-recordings have been sitting on a hard drive for a long time anyway. I just think sometimes you follow someone on social media, just like sometimes you wear an outfit and it's not that deep. It's not always an Easter egg, but in my heart of hearts, to hear Dolly on a Taylor Swift song would be the best of both worlds. Is it likely? Who cares? It's on my bingo sheet. I'm locking it in. And now if I'm following my previous track record of guessing an era accurate person, like I have with these artists kind of represent, I need to also pick someone a bit more current. And I think for debut, I would give that to Kelsey Ballerini. Taylor and Kelsey have been friends for, a long time. Kelsey was even at the 15-hour meet and greet back in the day. Kelsey is still consistently making great country pop music, leaning a little bit more pop actually these days. But I think to entice younger fans, that could be a fun little feature. If Chris Stapleton hadn't already done Red, I would have said Chris Stapleton here. I think another equivalent to him could be Luke Combs, who has one of the best voices in country music to me, but I just don't think their worlds have ever or would ever overlap, so I'm not clinging on to that idea. As for vault songs, as mentioned, I have a full video on this and all of my predictions, but for right now, I am gonna put my money on getting You'll Always Find Your Way Back Home. You guys know I am the biggest stan of that song. I'm also the biggest stan of I'd Lie. I am sadly less confident about Us us getting that just because of all of the legal mess that I mentioned in that video. I feel like it's less likely that that would be resolved or that Taylor would even want to do that, which breaks my heart. I'm gonna touch wood, so I'm not manifesting that, because if I could only pick one or the other, I would actually pick I'd Lie. I think that is a big statement, but I just love that song so much. Always have, always will. I wonder if we would get things like I Heart ? Permanent Marker, Dark Blue Tennessee, or are we gonna get songs that we have actually never heard of or know exist but haven't heard, like Nashville? I sadly don't think songs like Lucky You, $10 in a Six Pack, or Till Brad Pitt Comes Along are likely. Again, would be fun if we got them, but I just think they are not mature enough for like Taylor's current voice to be singing. But yeah, that is definitely the vault I'm most excited for. So now, unrelated to the Taylor's version projects, this year I think we will also hear more about Taylor's directorial debut. And my prediction for that is that it will be something a little bit more like low-key and indie vibes than what we would have expected for her. So obviously Taylor has been involved in such massive blockbuster productions like the Eras Tour or like the Hunger Games or Valentine's Day. I don't think it will be anything like these. I think it will be something less expected and like a little bit more gritty maybe. That's something I'll be very intrigued to see. I don't necessarily think we'll see it this year, but I think we'll hear about it this year. And on that note, we are now up to our Grammy predictions. I'm going to be so honest and so brave here, and I hope we can keep things respectful in the comments. I know the stan wars are crazy online, but I will simply not be hearing any hate. Literally, I won't hear it. I'm wearing my loops. If you guys have been watching me or following me for a while, you probably already know about loop earplugs, but essentially they are just ear protection that help protect you by filtering out the sound that you hear. My favorites in the past have been the loop experience for concerts and the loop quiet for everyday situations. However, that is no longer the case. Obviously, you can take the online quiz and like fill it out and see which one they recommend. However, if you can only get one pair, I cannot recommend this enough, and that is the loop switch. These bad boys are 3-in-1, and not in the bad way, like a shampoo, conditioner, soap hybrid, more like when you're listening to music and you can switch between transparency or noise cancelling mode. The loop switch does that too. If you can see on here, there's that little switch. Whether you are at a big loud live music event or just want to like lessen the stimulation during a grocery store trip, this one single pair of loops has you covered. Personally, I love using mine on public transport or at like big sporting games. I like to watch sport, but I don't like to hear people yelling. The other night I was out at trivia and like having drinks with my friends. All of us have loops, so we all had our loops out, and one of my friends got like a loud sound warning on her watch. Thankfully, she already had her loops in. Also, my newest hack that I'm gonna have to try out, my friend realized how fantastic these would be if you are using a Dyson or even like any kind of hairdryer that's right near your ears. That is so loud unnecessarily. Everyone's making those lists for like in and out 2025. In is skin protection and ear protection. I will leave the link for loops below, and you can use my code loopx-ali for 15% off. Thank you Loop earplugs for sponsoring this video. I will never stop raving about you, but let's get back to the video. Okay, here's where we get controversial. Let me start by saying the Tortured Poets Department is my album of the year. Obviously, I made like 60 videos about it. Personally, I still think that album is incredibly underrated and misunderstood, and that knowledge or thought will impact my predictions here. So for the sake of this video, I am putting myself in the Academy's brain or brains. I'm gonna do my best to not let any like bias or personal preferences influence me here, but I'm only human. So just a reminder, again, this is not what I want to win, but what I think will win for these main 4 categories. And let's just like, as a refresher, let's remember that Yummy by Justin Bieber was nominated for a Grammy. So this Academy votes differently than I would. Now, what's exciting to me is that we have just had such a fun era of pop music, and especially pop girlies. The pop girlies were just pop girlying the past year, you know, which makes my heart very happy. But like seriously, men did not have a chance to breathe this past year. So Harry Styles, I'm expecting a great big comeback from you in 2025, but how exciting to see so many women nominated across these categories, especially the main 4. So speaking of the main 4, let's get into these predictions. Firstly, I think I just have to say, I think the biggest snub from the Grammys this year is not nominating Jack Antonoff for Best Producer. I'm like, by the way guys, you can't see it, but I got this beautiful new velvet green chair, and I was so excited for you to all see it in videos, and it's not even in frame. So just imagine, I guess. But how on earth can you have multiple of the albums he's produced in album of the year, also the other main categories too, and then not have Jack nominated for Best Producer? Personally, I think this has been one of his most commercially successful years, which is saying a lot given how successful his other years have been. I just think Jack is killing it as always, and it's weird that they aren't aren't acknowledging that. Producer of the year in my heart. It's very sad that they're not giving him his flowers, but he is by far producer of the year in my heart. And another snub was the Eras Tour film not being nominated for Best Music Film when it was like clearly the most successful in that category. Anyway, I just think the Grammys really are like sick of Taylor. So we'll see how that goes. Okay, so let's start off with Best New Artist. So our nominees for Best New Artist are Benson Boone, Sabrina Carpenter, Doechii, Khruangbin, I apologize if I have not pronounced that correctly. I actually haven't heard of this artist before. Ray, Chappell Roan, Shaboozey, and Teddy Swims. Doechii obviously had like a pretty breakthrough year in 2020 and has kind of picked up a little bit since then. Personally, I think 2025 is really going to be her year. I think she's gaining a lot more momentum now and we'll kind of see that continue. Whereas I don't know if she was like on their radar enough last year. Honestly, it is just to me such a clear toss up between Sabrina Carpenter and Chappell Roan. If it goes to anyone else besides them, I will be truly surprised. Not disappointed, just surprised. Again, it's hard for me to like leave my bias at the door because obviously they are two of my favorite artists. I don't think anyone else had bigger years or bigger breakthrough years. And to me, it's very important to make that distinction because the category is for recognizing a new artist or one who has had a major breakthrough in the year. Because I know a lot of people love to argue that, you know, Sabrina's on her 6th album. It's not really appropriate for her to win Best New Artist. But if we keep that definition in mind, I think she's still perfectly eligible. To me, Sabrina had her equivalent of an Eras Tour summer this past year, or an Eras Tour year really. And I wonder how much of a role opening for Taylor on the Eras Tour played in that. It's so funny to think back to February of last year, not even a year ago, when Sabrina was opening for my shows, the biggest Taylor Swift concerts of all time, mind you. The crowd was like not really fully there for Sabrina. People were using her set to, you know, still arrive or go to the bathroom or eat food, compared to now when as soon as Sabrina announces her short and sweet tour, she's gonna sell out Rod Laver Arena like that in a minute flat, maybe less. I am terrified that I actually won't get tickets. So it's crazy to see just how astronomical the growth of her career has been in this past year. Obviously, she smashed records. She had massive success at Coachella. I think that's the other really key factor. When was Coachella? That was just after she played Eras here. It was actually more likely Coachella that did it. But yeah, I just feel very lucky to have been able to see her then because I know I'm gonna struggle this year. I just think Short and Sweet is such a fantastic album. Obviously, to me, it is no skip. I don't know if you guys know this, but most of the time, albums really have to grow on me. With Short and Sweet, it didn't have to at all. I was in California when it came out, but my Spotify is on like Australian time. So I was there and could access it earlier than anyone else in America. And it was just so exciting because from the very first song, I was hooked until the very last song. And that was really like a soundtrack to my summer at that time. Just such joyful pop music. I think it is beautifully produced. I think she sounds incredible. And one of the best things for me is that it's a really funny album. I wish we saw more of that. It's very fun. Now, Chappell is in a similar boat in regards to like years and years of hard work to become this overnight success. The proof of this is when festivals had to keep bumping her up to bigger and bigger stages to try and keep up with like the fame and the demand that she was having that was basically changing by the day. Chappell to me is one of the most refreshing and exciting artists we've had in a really long time. I know in other videos, I think I compared her to Lady Gaga. And by that, I mean someone who kind of just pushes the norms a little bit, is a bit more experimental. I love the creativity and the theatrics of like her live performances, her costuming and makeup, her album artwork, photo shoots, and just I think her overall persona. It's very refreshing. And obviously most of all, I think she is an incredible voice for a whole host of communities, and especially being from the Midwest of America, that is really important. But yeah, I think the main thing that I love about these two artists, or I guess I would say the albums that they are nominated for, is just how joyful they are. Obviously, both women can write a fantastic ballad or sad girl jam, but for the most part, these albums are quite like upbeat and self-celebrationary. I don't think that's a word, but they are filled with confidence, which in turn fills the listener with confidence, hopefully. If you're feeling sad and want to relate to feeling sad, Tortured Poets is fantastic for that. If you are feeling happy or want to feel happy, these two albums are great for that. But yeah, in a time where I was just feeling bummed a lot and like needed some high BPM tunes and positive lyrics to lift me out of that, I really turned to the more upbeat tunes, and I think both of these artists really did that. And I think the world really needed that this past year and likely will continue to need. So I really hope this pattern of positive pop continues into this year. Again, I will be astounded if anyone other than Chappell or Sabrina wins this. They are the clear front runners in my mind. mind. And if I'm forced to pick one of them, my money is on Chapel, just because I think her rise was slightly faster. If we look at like when Sabrina started putting out her music, Sabrina might be more successful. Chapel is technically newer, so it depends which part of that definition they look at, but I'll be very happy for either of them. Okay, next we have Song of the Year. So the definition for this is recognizes the best written song of the year. So more focus on the songwriting rather than like the production and etc. Our nominees are A Bar Song, Birds of a Feather, Die with a Smile, Fortnight, Good Luck Babe, Not Like Us, Texas Hold'em, and Please Please Please. My first instinct is to say how much I would love for Taylor to win this. It is bizarrely the one category she's like never won, even though the thing that she's most known for, and to me the thing she's the best at, is her songwriting. This is the songwriting award and yet it continuously evades her. So I'm just fearful that like if the Academy didn't give it to her for All Too Well, You Belong With Me, Cardigan, Blank Space, Lover, do we think they would give it to Fortnight? I'm inclined to say no, but again, I could see it happening. I wouldn't be surprised if they gave it, if Taylor won this. I think the Grammys don't love Taylor as much as they love other artists. And it's funny, I always think like, well, you should never give an award to someone because they should have won it in previous years. But with this one, I'm like, well, you guys really have messed up. Like, you should right your wrongs here. This might feel like a bit of a rogue pick, but I could really see this going to Die With a Smile, which is the Bruno Mars Lady Gaga song. I know Texas Hold'em, Please Please Please, and A Bar Song were everywhere this year, but I think they feel more likely to win in Record of the Year, which is more about like a single with great production, etc. For a song about the songwriting, I feel like they love giving it to movie songs. And this was in a movie, right? What was this in? Okay, it is for Joker 2. I didn't see that. I don't know if anyone saw that. So the Academy might not know that was for a movie. But yeah, I could just really see Bruno and Gaga taking that one. Personally, I think the last 45 seconds of Fortnite alone should win this. I would love to hear from you guys. If you were Taylor submitting for this category, would Fortnite be your pick? Same question, but for Record of the Year. Because obviously it was like the lead single, it had a music video, it has posties, so there's that double benefit. But in my mind, I'm like, I would be submitting Guilty as Sin all across the board. That would be my lead single. So High School would have got a submission somewhere. I don't know, maybe they will respect Fortnite. I can just really easily see the voters like overlooking Taylor. So even with Beyonce, I feel like I would have nominated 16 Carriages instead of Texas Hold'em for this category. I think Sabrina was very smart to split her nominations here with Please 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 and then Espresso for Record of the Year. And if I was Beyonce, I would have had 16 Carriages in this category instead, but that's just me. So yeah, I genuinely would not be surprised with any of them winning this category, which is, I guess, is the point. They're all like the best of the best. But yeah, they were just such huge songs this year. We have to remember the Grammys really love Billie. So if they weren't going to give her Album of the Year, I think Birds of a Feather might get Song of the Year. It's kind of an if this then that. Like, I think we'll see things spread out quite a lot, which, you know, I would be very happy with. I want to see everyone go home happy. So if you know, if everyone gets a little piece of the tiara, that'd be great. But yeah, let me know who you guys think. Next up, we have Record of the Year. So this recognizes the best single song, including performance and production. The previous category was more about the songwriting. This is the production and everything else that goes into it. Our nominees here are Now and Then by the Beatles, Texas Hold'em by Beyonce, Espresso by Sabrina Carpenter, 360 by Charlie XCX, Birds of a Feather by Billie Eilish, Good Luck Babe by Chappell Roan, Fortnight by Taylor Swift featuring Post Malone, and Not Like Us by Kendrick Lamar. It actually would not surprise me if Kendrick came out and won this one. I do think Fortnite has a shot here. The production is incredible, the music video is fantastic, but I wonder, I think if they don't give Taylor any of the main 4 categories, I think she could get Best Pop Album, Best Pop Vocal Album, is that what it is? And Best Music Video for Fortnite. Although the Ariana Grande We Can't Be Friends music video was also really good. I don't know, man. I'm stressed. Realistically, I think Record of the Year is gonna go to Espresso. And honestly, I would be happy with that. Within this category, it recognizes like the production and the producer as well. And obviously, I think Jack deserves his flowers. So no one could argue that this song wasn't everywhere all year. I'd be happy for them if they got it. And finally, we have the biggest award of the night, Album of the Year. Once again, you obviously know what my Album of the Year was because I didn't shut up about it. But our nominees are New Blue Sun by Andre 3000, Cowboy Carter by Beyonce, Short and Sweet by Sabrina Carpenter, Brat by Charlie XCX, Hit Me Hard and Soft by Billie Eilish, The Rise and Fall of a Midwest Princess by Chappell Roan, The Tortured Poets Department by Taylor Swift, and Jessie Volume 4 by Jacob Collier. Again, apologies if I mispronounced that. I have not heard of that artist or album. This is Taylor's strongest chance, I think. Taylor to me is just such an album artist. The other categories we've discussed are more about a particular single, and if we're looking at Fortnite against like Texas Hold'em, Espresso, Birds of a Feather, I don't know if the Academy would give her that, whereas The Tortured Poets Department literally was like the biggest album in history, and that album was never really about having one big hit single in the same way that like 1989 was, or even Midnights or Fearless. That said, if I'm being honest, I don't think they will give it to Taylor. I think given her historic win last year, becoming the first singer to ever win that 4 times in history, and also just the fact that she won it the previous year, I really don't think they will consider her for this at all. Obviously this year is just so stacked, so I think it's hard no matter what. Watch it literally go to the one album on this list that I don't know. The reasoning for why I don't think they'll give it to Tortured Poets is I think with the exposure, or maybe even overexposure, that Taylor has had in the past 2 years, and also the fact that she didn't like cut down her album or albums or the anthology, that is one of the main criticisms of non-fans, and I think that the Grammy voters will agree with that. I think she'll be somewhat punished for that. I think they will view the fact that she put out more art than everyone else, they will view that as a negative thing and say that it should have been edited down or something. Now, as we know, Taylor said that this was an album unlike any before. It was one that she really needed to make. This was for her own coping and catharsis. My hope is that Taylor can just feel so proud of what she was able to create, especially in the face of such pain. Anyone who can do that will always be such an inspiration to me. So while I know that she loves to, you know, do well in her career, I hope she can see this album for what it is as a success and something to be proud of on its own, even if it doesn't win. Personally, if it's not going to Taylor, my pick here is Beyonce. I cannot think of a more culturally rich and significant album in this category than Cowboy Carter. It sparked so many important conversations about history, about Black people in America, about country music in America. It also just sounds incredible and has phenomenal features, and it's something that I had been wanting to see Beyonce do since Daddy Lessons, so very exciting. In that same vein, I also think Chappell's album was like a beacon of hope and joy. Sabrina's album is like flawless 10 out of 10 start to finish for me. Then on the other hand, I know that the Academy really adores Billie, and I do find it hard to like zoom out and be super subjective because I didn't necessarily listen to like Charlie or Billie's album front to back. But, you know, I know that some people did think, you know, if the Academy are wanting to collect some more cool points this year, they could give it to Brat. Also, I know a lot of the music publications loved that album. Metacritic, Rolling Stone, The Washington Post, Pitchfork, etc, etc. They all really loved it. So even if it's not necessarily my favorite kind of music, I can acknowledge that it's definitely someone else's. And I think that's something that's very cool about not necessarily the Grammys in general, but like awards shows, or at least these nominations. There's really something for everyone. And let's not forget that the Grammys does not matter, or only matters as much as you want it to. So it's really not that deep. I'm just someone who likes to have a fun little guessing game. I will put up an Instagram story the day before or the day of the Grammys with like my full list of predictions. I don't know if anything might change by then because voting has now closed, but yeah, if you want to see who my picks are for the other categories, that will be there. And I'm definitely keen to hear in the comments who you guys think is gonna win these awards. Obviously, it is very hard for me to be subjective being such a big fan of Taylor, but I've just seen the Grammys like snub her so many times that I don't know if she'll win as many as I would like her to. I definitely think she'll win at least 1 or 2 Grammys. It just depends which one. Again, I'm like, if this person wins this one, then I want someone else to win this one. I want to like spread the love here. And I don't know if the Grammys would do that. They could literally give Chappell Roan every single award here, or Sabrina Carpenter. You know, they could do anything. So it's definitely a year I'm excited to see. I also can't wait for the red carpet. You guys know I love a little fashion moment. If you have any predictions on what you think Taylor will wear, drop that below too. But most of all, I'm just so excited to be back in, again, what I presume is a re-recording year. Reputation and Taylor Swift obviously are very, very different albums, but both incredible in their own ways. So I can't wait for new people to discover them and oldies like us to just relive our glory days. And if there are any more topics you guys would like me to cover in my Taylor Swift 101 series, please let me know, because I've been having a lot of fun making those, you know, just knowing that I'm helping bring people into our little cult. Or people that are already here but maybe don't know the backstory. That is so exciting for me. So thank you to everyone who has been leaving such nice comments on those. Let me know what you want to see in the future. Make sure to give this video a like if you enjoyed it, if you would like to see more from me. It just really helps out my channel. In the meantime, I will chat to you guys in the comments, and I will see you next time. Bye!
Is this what it feels like to grow up?